What's going on, internet? Analytic here, aka Dreams, and I'd like to welcome you to mine, which I call the Notorious Mass Effect podcast. I'm your hip hop and gaming news source with a little bit of R&B mixed in. For episode 129, we're going to be getting into a lot of sales, and by sales, via the music and gaming industry, because a lot of stuff has been happening behind the scenes that's been pretty impactful, and it's not just the writer's strike that lasted for like almost 200 days. Basically, we're going to get into a lot of sales and the correlation with, or the lack of correlation with, integrity. So with that being said, of course, gotta give y'all updates since, it's a new episode. Business update. I'm going more in the direction of different brands sponsoring the pod instead of having one specific brand. I'm not going to speak on it too much because, that's like behind the scenes business stuff. But I like to be transparent because y'all the ones who support me to make these even possible. So, I might have heard me talk about Drizzly in the past 3 to 4 months. Now, it's going to be more variety on every ad instead of a 50% chance of Drizzly ad popping up. That's as simple as I can put it, because for the podcast, of course, a lot of people like to buy in for downloads, and that's like the business aspect. I don't know if anybody or I don't know if too many people care about that. So I just wanted to lay it out there for people who's wondering about the Drizzly sponsorship, because if you don't know, a little creator tidbit, definitely make a podcast on Red Circle hosting platform. I may be a little biased, but I believe they give you the best creator tools to tailor your price to what you want. I'm not going to tell you the price I set, but let's just say the different brands that buy into that price is higher than the whole shred stuff I was doing for Drizzly. So with that being said, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Let's give a life update. Now, do I have a story for y'all? Obviously, I'm not going to give too much into my personal life because it's out there, but it's not like something I promote. One thing I realized is it's not really where you are or the lifestyle that you're living. It's more about the people around you and the experiences you share with them, the people you care about, and the people who's really in your circle, and the experiences you share with them. That's one of the things I've realized over time, but it's become even more and more apparent as I've gotten, I'm not even gonna say older because I'm still young technically, but hanging with certain people who have your best interests at heart is better than being in certain quote unquote live sections or just popular sections and being in the mix. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, hanging with the people who have your best interest at heart is something I would take every time, versus just being invited to like a popular function to be with amongst others. And that's just because for me, that's just what I like. Once it was a choice, I think that's what it was, because some people say it and they just say it because they can't get into the popular section. Let's just be honest. So now I've realized that for me personally, I just choose to like spend time with people who have my best interests at heart, which is mostly family, most of my family, if not all, and some friends, So with that being said, that's my personal life update. Hopefully I didn't confuse y'all. Let's just say there's a lot of different events going on, especially if you're a college student. You definitely know what I mean. And you have to make a lot of decisions on whether to have fun or to take care of business. And for me, I've realized that taking care of business 9 times out of 10 is the better option. So yeah, that's a side point from what I just previously said. So What else? Yeah, so that's basically it. That's it for my update. Nothing really too much to talk about. As always, I appreciate the people coming time and time again to support the podcast. We just surpassed 1.8 million total downloads in just 9 months under the new hosting platform Red Circle for the podcast. And I know it's basically October, but I'm still saying 9 months because we just got into October. So to accomplish that feat, especially in just 1 year of starting up on a new platform, which basically resets everything to zero. You got to build everything from the ground up. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to my segment that I titled Notorious Mass Effect versus, I think it's UMG. Hold on, let me look it up myself, because I don't want to send y'all in the wrong direction. But basically, I don't feel like explaining it because I already explained it a million times. But if you want to hear me explain it again, yeah, look up Spotify versus Notorious Mass Effect, and then parentheses I put podcast deleted. So that was a whole ordeal where I was taken down by UMG, come to find out. But of course I just put Spotify because I didn't know at the time. But had to start all the way over this year, and coming up on October to have 80,000 weekly downloads, to have 1.8 million total downloads in under 10 months is like a bounce back that I did not see, because compared to Anchor, I was averaging at the most 9,000 downloads a week, which is not all about the numbers for me, but I like to point out when people are supporting in a way that has surpassed my expectations, if that makes sense. So I like to point it out, because I don't want all these people listening to think I don't care about the support. Hopefully y'all don't get that inclination that I just don't care about everybody tuning in. I don't know why you would, because I usually say every stream that I appreciate everybody who comes in and checks out the podcast. So for the consistent people who come over time and time again, that's the current overall numbers that we're at, and hopefully we continue to climb. At the end of the day, I'm gonna keep trying to come up with different topics that keeps y'all entertained. And with these different episodes, I like the format of it because, of course, I cover new music, so you're gonna get something new every single week, and especially Thursday at midnight when I cover all new, well, not all, but like most of the popular new music releases. So with that being said, hold up, I gotta make sure there's nothing else left to get off my chest. Oh, another thing. Hold up, I do got something to say. Okay, so I'm 23, right? I have to say my age because it's apparent, or it's a part of this story. Get in line with my friends. We having fun and everything, and that's not the point. Checking into certain parties that has a limit of 21 or over, and you have to show your ID, right? I'm a black man in a certain place that has a lot of white people, right? So when I hand them my ID and they look at it, oh, also I'm from out of state. I'm not gonna tell you which state because I'm just giving you a story, all right? I'm not trying to have you all in my business, but it's out there. I'm just not gonna promote it. So basically, I'm out of state, right? Give them my ID and tell me why every time I hand a bouncer, I guess is what they call my ID, they look at it like I'm just the biggest killer in America. I'm like, every time I hand them my ID, they staring at it, they put it in the light, they throw it, they twisting it around, they squinting their eyes. I think one time a dude pulled out a brand new pair of glasses just to look at it even closer. I was like, ain't no way this is happening to me every time I go to a bar. And I'm telling you, this is a lengthy process, at least 5 to 10 minutes. They're just looking at it. They like asking me all. Imagine how frustrating it is to have this happen every single time. They're asking you questions about your hometown. Oh, where'd you do this? Well, where'd you go to school? I'm like, honestly, I don't want to be that person, but when you play certain sports, you're pretty well known in certain communities. So I'm like, if you was there, you would have knew about me. I ain't want to say that because then it comes across a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Because I told you I used to play basketball, but that's besides the point. Yeah, so the last, obviously it happened, recently. I'm just like, it's not a big deal, but it's just so frustrating that they think it's a fake every time they look at it. and they squint their eyes, put in the light, all type of stuff. And so my thing now is just to automatically just call for the manager. I'm like, bro, like, and, you know, I do it in like a nice way. You know what I'm saying? Gotta be nice, because as a black man, they would just say, "Oh, I felt threatened. You can't come in," right? So I say it in the most polite way I could put it. I'm like, just have your manager look at it, right? That's what I say. And they usually have the manager come, they look at it, and I get to go in. And so I don't know, I just had to bring that up because that is beyond frustrating. When I tell y'all that little stuff like that is just like, but why am I even out here? Like, if you know, sometimes it's like you could take it as a compliment, or you could take it at face value, which is, I'm a black man, most of the bouncers are white, looking at a card that they think, oh, we get a lot of out of state. I'm like, well, I'm actually out of state. So at this point, like, if y'all can't tell the real from the fakes, then who's winning? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So anyways, I had to get that off my chest. Oh, you know, that felt good. That felt good. All right. That's it. All right. You know, these episodes are also therapeutic for me. And I think any podcast is therapeutic for the podcasters, depending on if you're talking about, except for the crime podcast. I don't see how they do it, covering that stuff every single day, every single week. They are a different breed. So that being said, let's get into an episode. All right, I had to tell y'all that because I had a good time. Of course, you know, of course I had a good time. It never like stops my good time, but it's always like one of those things where it's just like, dang, like, what do I like? I don't care, but it's just annoying. So it's like one of those things where you don't care, but it's annoying. And hopefully y'all can relate with that type of sentiment. So before we get into episode 129, I done turned off my beat. Hold up, give me 1 second. All right, there we go. Before we get into episode 129, which is basically titled "Sales Over Integrity, Is It Worth It?" Because we're gonna get into a lot of numbers talk. Make sure to click my link tree in my bio to access my social medias and follow to keep up with my latest activities. And if you want to support the show financially, click my Cash App link located towards the top of my link tree, as it helps the show overall. Also, make sure to share this podcast, rating the show 5 stars, as this helps the show reach more people so we can grow together and affect the masses. Now, let's get into the first topic of episode 129, which of course I'm starting off hot with Doja Cat first week sales. I want to start this off by saying Drake drops this Friday. With that being said, to all my OVO boys out there in the sweatshop, I have to apologize. I said in my Doja Cat Scarlet segment that this is the reason Drake pushed his album back. And boy, was I wrong. You know, sometimes in life, you give an opinion that's just downright false. The type of merit that I had behind it, I believe to be a lot, because if you would have told me that leading up to your album, you would have had the #1 song in the world, I don't even think it would have crossed your mind that there was a possibility that your album could flop. So who I'm talking about is Doja Cat and her new album Scarlet, because it's not even expected to compete with #1. You want to know the top 3 albums? Of course, Olivia Rodrigo with Guts, selling 89,000 in I don't know how many weeks it's been out. Rod Wave with his album Nostalgia, 84,000. Morgan Wallen, that man just won't go away, will he? Morgan Wallen with One Thing at a Time, 71,000. And then you have Doja Cat Scarlet at 69,000 first week. And this is her first time being on the charts. The reason why I say first time, because when your first week sales come out, usually that's an indication of how much anticipation you've built up for your album, or how much your fans care to listen to your album as soon as it comes out. A lot of people listen to music for fun, which is nothing wrong with that. Then you have stans and core fan bases who listen to every single new release their favorite artist drops. Doja Cat, I believe, was one of them because after seeing Paint the Town Red literally become the first hip hop song, I believe. Let me make sure this is right. Paint the Town Red literally became the first hip hop #1 track of 2023. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat becomes the first rap song to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 since Nicki Minaj's Super Freaky Girl over a year ago. And I think, well, no, Super Freaky Girl, she hasn't put out the album yet. But basically what I'm saying is that usually when you have a single that's so successful that out of all the songs in the world, everybody's playing this one the most, and you release an album to capitalize off of that, I would think that you would not flop, right? So I thought it was safe to assume Drake pushed his album back for the possibility that Doja Cat could outsell him in first week sales. That's why I started off this segment by saying I apologize to my OVO boys out there. Because look at this, right? For people on my Analytic Dreamz video podcast on Spotify, I'm about to go through her Instagram. Now, if you're not on that, make sure to go over if you want to watch the video along with the audios on my Spotify Analytic Dreamz video podcast if you want to look that up. Also, it's in my link tree. But anyways, let's go through her Instagram, right? Hopefully none of this is like too much as far as like scaring y'all, but I want y'all to see some of this imagery. The reason I'm being quiet is because to sell your soul. Oh, look at this one. I ain't gonna lie with that one's kind of fire. But anyways, to sell your soul, or not even sell your soul, because that's like a buzz phrase or a buzz term or whatever. But look at this right here, right? Let me tell y'all something. To praise the devil and to still flop is insane. Because you've seen so many artists like Sam Smith, who was at an award show dressed as the devil for a whole performance. You've seen Lil Uzi Vert have so many antichrist symbols as far as the upside down cross, and he sold tremendously for his album, The Pink Tape. So you've seen this marketing strategy work time and time again. It's the easy integrity. No, it's the easy sales over integrity, which is why this episode is titled that. Because of course, this is not the only aspect I have of this, but I do want to say celebrating devilish images, whether you're religious or not, it's very abrasive and wanting to have attention on you. So when you choose this marketing strategy, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you. And to still flop, like relative to the major label that she's on, this is a flop. Doja Cat is on RCA, which is a major label. You want to know who else is on RCA? Or SZA. SZA's also on RCA. Trying to see who else. In parentheses, they have the bigger They have the bigger major label. I don't know what SME stands for. I'm tripping. I think it's Sony Music, but let me make sure. I don't want to just be saying stuff. The reason why I'm bringing up major label because obviously they're the machine that helps you, for lack of a better term, fake your streams a little bit more efficiently. You know. So Kemosabe Records slash RCA Records. I wonder what the SME stands for. Hold on, let me type that in right quick. Cause that's gonna help me with the other artists on the same label. Cause there's subsidiaries and there's the major label, and the SME one is the major label. RCA SME. Cause this is gonna help me clarify my point even further. Ah, okay. That's why I knew it was that. Okay, Sony Music Entertainment. I don't know why I was blanking on that. I was thinking it was that. I just didn't want to misspeak. Rod Wave is under Sony Music. Let's see. Doja Cat, of course, is under SME. SZA's under SME. Travis Scott is under SME, and they are all in the top 10, right? As far as album sales. Difference is most of these, well, every artist besides Doja Cat I just named, those albums been out and they're still in the top 10. With Doja Cat, with her first week being so low, I do not see this lasting on the top 10 list as far as album sales, which some people may be like, why are you pinpointing album sales? It doesn't really matter that much. The reason why I'm pinpointing it is because I came out and said that Drake pushed his album back for Doja Cat Scarlet because of the possibility that she could outsell him. That is just asinine at this point. With Scarlet selling 69,000 first week, not even competing for number one, slid all the way to number 4. The follow up to Planet Her, which generated 109,000. Think about this. Your previous album sells 109,000 first week. Scarlet is coming up, and you have your biggest track of all time in Paint the Town Red. You would not even think or contemplate selling even close to 100,000 because you're like, I sold 109,000 last time, and this time for this new album, I have a single leading up to it that's my most successful single of all time, and then to put the album out and the numbers come out like this. Nowadays, it's so hard to figure out what album projections, no, not album projections, what albums are gonna do before they come out. Because if your single is selling one way, like you're the hottest artist in the world, and your album is selling like you're a mid C to C tier to D level artist, that there's no correlation to where you could be like, I could have pinpointed that. So I think the music industry is having a hard time trying to sell these albums, and we have to start putting more respect on people who actually put up triple digit numbers when it comes to first week sales, when it comes to Olivia Rodrigo, Rod Wave, SZA, Travis Scott. Basically, the big dogs in the industry has to get more respect for having their fans listen to their entire album instead of just one singular song that was kind of catchy. More respect has to be placed on album artists than single artists. And we're seeing it with Cardi B. Cardi B just had, I think, one of her biggest flops with Bongos because WAP was one of the most successful hip hop tracks of all time. Now you have Bongos fighting, and I mean fighting for dear life to stay on the top 50, and it just came out like a week or two ago. So when you are an album artist and respected for your albums time after time, because you could do it once. Obviously, Cardi did it once with Invasion of Privacy. But when you do it time and time again, like a Rod Wave has, like a Travis Scott, like a SZA, I think that's the point where you can kind of surmise that they will have stable sales whenever they put out an album. That is what I think was missing for Doja Cat. So I had so many theories on why Doja Cat flopped, and I just realized she may just be a singles artist. Her fan base may not really like her albums like that. And that's crazy to say because her last album sold 109,000 first week. But in the midst of that, she done told her fan base that she don't love them. She done told her fan base that they can go forget themselves. And that's the PG way of me saying it. She done told her fan base that she don't really like care about them. She don't even know them. Like just all type of PR nightmare scenarios that Doja Cat was accomplishing in real life. To the point where now, when Paint the Town Red went number one, it was the biggest song in the world. She was like, "Oh, this marketing strategy is actually working. So let me keep playing into this devilish mantra, and all of my sales are gonna go up because obviously when I do this marketing tactic, it works, which it did with Paint the Town Red becoming the biggest single in 2023 for hip hop, or the first number one for hip hop. Obviously, Drake has a second. So now I'm gonna keep leaning into the devilish imagery. I'm gonna put out this Scarlet album, and I'm not even contemplating that I'm a flop. Like I'm thinking that I'm about to blow the roof off with these sales, and then for it to come out and not even number two, like you wasn't even runner up in album sales or first week sales. Number four for an album you just put out, being under Sony Music Entertainment, having the number one song in the world is beyond a disappointment. So with that being said, I think I pretty much covered everything. It was really interesting to see that even Paint the Town Red, which is like Doja Cat's still like biggest accomplishment in 2023, which it is a big really the biggest. It's like a Super Bowl for an artist to go number one in the world as far as your track. So Jungkook, obviously, with Jack Harlow, the new track 3D is tracking and they're projecting it to dethrone Paint the Town Red on the global 200 chart after a month-long worldwide reign. So that's how long Paint the Town Red has been running the charts. But they say that 3D by Jungkook and Jack Harlow is set to dethrone it. It may not happen. It's still projections. This came out like 13 hours ago as far as this report. But Jungkook did have a huge single with Lotto with 7, which was like top 3 for, it's still like top 3, top 5 right now as we speak, I believe. Yeah, because I don't think they have the actual global sales up. Hold on, let me go to global sales. I think this is just the US one. And global sales, Jungkook has, yeah, it's still number 2. So Jungkook still has the number 2 track in the world with 7 with Lotto. So for him to have a number 1 with 3D with Jack Harlow at that point, man, he may have to forget BTS and go on a solo run because that's ridiculous. But anyways, I'm not gonna be a dead horse. I just really wanted to apologize to my Drake fandom out there because at the end of the day, I am a huge Drake fan. I doubted my GOAT and I paid the price. You know, sometimes in life, you just have to admit when you're wrong, and this is one of those scenarios. I had to break down why I was wrong. When Drake drops, of course, I'm covering everything. I mean, that's my favorite artist. So, hurt my heart that I doubted him, and I was just so wrong with my projections. Like, beyond wrong. Like, I was thinking Doja Cat was finna do 300, 400 for first week, like some Travis Scott type sales. She ended up selling 69,000 and being number 4 on the album charts instead of number 1, which I just thought it was not even a question. Like I thought she had it in the bag. So that stuff's crazy. So anyways, basically to sum out, in summary, Doja Cat flop. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Doja Cat and just selling her soul, praising the devil, and it all resulting in a flop? And also, what do you think she could have did to not have her album sales be so low? Did y'all know that all 7 members of BTS has reached the top 10 of the artist 100 charts? And what that means is the Billboard Top 100. And as far as charting, every single BTS member has put out a song that has entered that chart. That is insane. That's like if I really don't know a 7-person group in like any genre besides like bands, like rock bands, of course. But I would say that's like if, what was it, Wu-Tang? It's like if Wu-Tang had way more than 7 members. Anyways, there's really no comparison, basically. And honestly, that's a great transition to what I'm about to get into. Because of there being no comparison, Big Hit Music, which is the major label that BTS is under, has officially signed them for a second time. And this is in anticipation of BTS coming back together in 2025, because if you don't know, some BTS members are completing their mandatory military service. So the reason why all these different BTS members are putting out solo music, and you see some stuff from J-Hope, you see stuff from Jungkook. I don't know all the names. I'm not gonna lie to you. Is it up here? I don't think all the names is up here. Oh, it's literally on the screen. Y'all know I can't read. My fault. So J-Hope, Suga, Jimin, V, Jungkook, Jin, RM. The only ones I haven't heard a lot about is Jin. That's the only one. And that's no disrespect. I just haven't heard too much about him. But as far as the most publicized member for what I've seen, I would probably say Suga. I know J. Cole gave that verse to J-Hope, but that man, Jermaine, when it comes to his culture vulturing tactics, like he would just choose the worst way to give a verse to these overseas artists. Like if you heard his verse on Burna Boy, you would have thought that he paid Burna Boy to put that verse on his album. Like that was some atrocious execution that happened with that song. From J. Cole's verse to the tempo of the beat to the way Burna Boy was coming on, like he was ending off the album, and J. Cole came on like he was basically took 2 NyQuil pills and went to sleep, and then woke up and recorded his verse. Like basically it was terrible, right? Anyways, that was a side tangent. Well, all of these members, okay, so basically all of these solo members from BTS is putting out music is because some members of BTS is completing mandatory military service, and they won't be able to come back together as a group until 2025, which is coming up pretty soon. If you look at how the industry works and stuff, like it's basically not that far off, right? So Big Hit Music was like, let's get this deal done because these boys put in up numbers and we don't want them to go somewhere else. Because best believe me, Universal Music Group would have been swooped up and signed BTS if they could. So I believe Big Hit is under South Korea as far as like home base. So I think they're trying to, keep them under the umbrella instead of, losing them to a foreign major label, which makes sense. So let's keep going. BTS, of course, debuted under Big Hit Entertainment in 2013, and they renewed the contracts for the first time in October 2018. And of course, you don't have specific details of the contract because that's like illegal. Like literally every contract of this magnitude is like, hey, you can't tell nobody about the specifics of this deal. Because imagine you went to your work, right, and y'all was just openly disclosing contracts, and you realize you do more than this person, but they get paid $60,000 more than you. You're gonna throw a fit. So, anyways, the details of the contract is not disclosed, of course. Jin and J-Hope from BTS are currently fulfilling the mandatory military duties. So, Suga is set to join them soon, and BTS Okay, so there's only Jin and J Hope and then Sugar that has mandatory military service left. I was wondering why I wasn't hearing as much as news about Sugar. But anyways, I think it's very strategic the way they're doing this, right? They're making each solo act put out music and then go do their mandatory military service, and then while they're doing that, they have another act come put out music. So it's very strategic the way Big Hit is maneuvering this whole mandatory military duty stuff, because you know they have to do it. It's not like US where you could just say forget your country and everybody just gonna let it rock. Like in South Korea, you're forced to go serve on the mandatory, or to serve in the military. But speaking of the US, BTS has achieved so much success. One of the most successful groups of all time, literally, like of all time. Beatles, um, Jackson 5, um, is One Direction. Are they in that category? I don't think so, right? I don't know too many groups. Outkast, um, you get what I'm saying, right? BTS is one of them. Like as far as history in 10 years, 15 years from now, BTS is gonna have a legacy of putting K-pop on the map for the US. Like they literally met with the president of the United States simply because their impact on the states was so big. Like forget their hometown where they get like billions of streams. Now they come to America and they also putting up numbers on the Billboard charts. So speaking of those numbers, it includes um I totally blank. Oh, they've topped the US Billboard Hot 100 singles chart and the Billboard 200 albums chart. And if I had to look at, I think they've had multiple albums out. Let me see. You know what would go crazy? And this is a side point or a side tangent. A Drake and BTS track. I'm not gonna lie, Drake would probably give the most culture vulture verse we've ever heard in life. But with that being said, yeah, they have a bunch of albums out. So yeah, no, their fan base loves when they put out albums. Like sometimes you wonder if a certain group or whatever is an album type group or if they just are popular from their singles. From the looks of it, they've been going since goodness. They've been going since 2013. They've been in this game a decade. That's insane. And they still relevant, even more relevant than they've ever been 10 years later. I mean, that brings a whole nother meaning to the Drake line when he said, "Give it 10 years, we'll see who's around a decade from now," something like that. And basically, BTS could say the same thing because they've been around a decade and they looking better than ever. So, what else? BTS promised to stay together in 2025 and beyond, of course, in a statement. Hybe, the parent company of Big Hit, expressed support for BTS, of course. I mean, like, imagine you're managing BTS, you're gonna support them. That's like, that's like the GM of the Lakers being like, you know what? I think Lakers just gonna be all right this year. Like, nah, you gonna support them with every ounce of your energy. Um, so yeah, it's really not too much to get into. K-pop was put on the map by BTS, but they are not the only ones. If you want to get more into the BTS and the K-pop field, Blackpink is another group that puts up numbers. Of course, Jungkook literally has the second most popular song in the world with Lotto, which is called Seven, and is rumored and projected that he could have the number one song in the world with Jack Harlow, which is titled 3D. As far as the other BTS members, I really don't see any other ones. I see a lot of R&B and rap. The Weeknd is still on the charts with Starboy. That man's different. Sorry, I just saw that. Uh, so yeah, that's basically it. I'm trying to see any other beats. Oh, New Jeans. Okay, New Jeans with Super Shy. They're number 41. And the reason I know that K-pop is because I cover most of these K-pop artists. Well, not most. I cover the popular ones, and I remember covering New Jeans one time. And speaking of New Jeans, I think they're having or it may already be out. It's like a track for League of Legends tournament, I believe, that's coming up soon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. You can look it up. I'm not getting into details, but basically, yeah, they putting out or they may already have an anthem out for League of Legends. So there's that, because I think that tournament is happening in South Korea. You're probably like, how do you know that? Well, Notorious Mass Effect. Whenever gaming and music collides, I try to pay attention. So anyways, that's basically it. Click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Big Hit getting BTS to renew their contracts for 2025 and beyond after completing their mandatory military service? Do you care? And if you do, who's your favorite member of BTS? All right, class, before we get started, I have a few announcements to make. So, welcome first to course US music revenue. We're going to be going through a plethora of different numbers, and obviously, as you can see, Spotify has this nice chart up for us to look at. And if you go to Analytic Dreamz video on my Spotify channel to see the video elements along with the audio, you will understand what I'm currently saying to you. So I feel like a professor because throughout the duration of this segment, you are going to learn everything you need to know about the music industry. Literally, you're going to be able to walk away and tell people how 2023 has went from an economic standpoint. And that, ladies and gentlemen, or with that, let's get started. I'm excited to discuss this topic with you today. All right, I'm gonna take off my professor voice. Basically, the music industry is racking up all type of do-re-mi, right? Recording an all-time high revenue of 8.4 billion in the first half. This is not even 2023. This is the first half of 2023, marking the 9th consecutive year of growth. Music, as far as revenue, is getting into a whole nother stratosphere of sales. Now, for this year specifically, I have a theory on why that is, but we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So make sure to pull out your notebook, write this down, jot it down, listen to it, put it in your brain, take a screenshot with your brain, if that's possible. Paid streaming subscriptions has been the biggest reason for these continuous years of growth, making up to 78% of streaming revenue. Right now, I have the way that people has been consuming music for the first half of 2023. Now, you probably are saying, where are your sources, young man? Well, I would say to you that at this point in the game, if you don't believe me, I don't know what to say to you. Like, at the end of the day, I have my sources. If you click my link tree in my bio on one of my social medias and DM me, I'll let you know specifically. But if you're just asking for clout, then guess what? I made it up. So anyways, digital downloads, of course, has been the no, not the lowest. So it's tied with the lowest. Digital downloads and sync is tied to the lowest. Physical is at 11%, and streaming is at a whopping 84%. Now, this is a graph, so they're just making figures add up so it rounds out to 100, right? Figures, this is in the bottom right, figures don't add to 100% due to rounding. So with that being said, why do people not purchase music anymore? And why has the value of music went down to such a point where just a simple listen is basically half a penny, right? You have to garner thousands and thousands and thousands of people to listen to make money from your music. And now that it's on streaming, or even before it was on streaming, it's like when you purchase an album, a percentage of that money went directly to the artist that made it. That was much more than you just press and play on your whatever DSP you use. So I find that very interesting on the landscape of music, because if you think about it, if you was an artist and was getting paid half, not even half, a tenth of what you really deserve as a musician, and compared it to back in the day, I would say the only reason people aren't upset is because of the brand deals you can get from social media. And that's why the money they make from music isn't as focused upon, because you can use social media, like I said, to get brand deals. Um, Basically, that's it. Like, uh, Offset with fashion is one of the prominent examples. Him having a whole TV show based off fashion. Drake with Stake, a gambling company, which is where he makes not most of his money, but like majority of his money. Jay-Z with his business accolades with like I'm naming a lot of hip hop because for me I cover mostly hip hop. So with his business ventures with the NFL, his alcohol brand, and speaking of alcohol, Diddy with Ciroc and him um, partnering and basically creating his own black network in Revolt. You know, musicians make music from everything but music nowadays, and this is why nobody buys music anymore. So why focus on them streaming, which also helps the publicity, so they want you to stream. But for the most part, based off the popularity from streaming, that's how they get these other brand deals where they make majority of their money. And that's because nobody's buying music nowadays. Like 3% sync. Like, what is a sync? Like, maybe I'm too young, but what in the world do you have to do to get music through sync? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is. Um, Obviously I know what physical is. Physical copies, you go out to the store and buy, a CD. Digital downloads is basically what I am more focused on nowadays with my podcast, because a listen is different from a download. Download is when people can play it offline and online, and listening basically is like, oh, it's whenever you have connection, especially if it's on a DSP. Download, you can listen to it offline. That's the biggest feature that I believe. So, and also I think you can, once you download it, I think you can edit it, I believe. Like you can, like you own it basically. It's like a physical, it's not physical, but it's like digitally yours. Like it's not gonna change. The thing with streaming is somebody can go into a whole album and change it up as far as the beats, and the 808s now sound like this, and back in the day they used to sound like that. If you would have purchased it back in the day, the physical copy, you would have had that version. And so when the new version came out, you still had the old version. Streaming, if you only stream, you're stuck with whatever the artist wants to do with their music, right? Because you don't technically own it. Anyways, let's keep going for this because I have a lot more stats to get through. So the number of people that paid for music subscriptions has more than doubled in the past 5 years, of course. And physical media sales have seen a resurgence, accounting for 11% of recorded music revenue and bringing in $882 million. Now, physical media sales is a very interesting way to put it. I think they're talking about vinyls, and whenever we're talking about vinyls, I have this picture up for a reason. Save this lady right here. She's the one that's doing it with the vinyls. Like if you want to look at a particular artist that's putting up numbers with vinyls, is Mrs. Swift. I don't know what it is about the Swifties, but they need the red, blue, and green version of whatever Taylor Swift is putting out. Like if she puts out 3 vinyls in 3 different colorways, now they gonna mess around and buy all 9 of them. Like at that point, it's just like, dang. Like if we looking at it from a statistical standpoint, Taylor Swift puts out one thing in 3 different colorways, and now she sold 3 times more than she would have, because literally the Swifties buy whatever. Like at this point, Taylor Swift probably has, not even probably, she has the most supportive fan base in music history currently. Like as far as like alive, I know the Beehive's gonna kill me. I know the the um the Barbs are gonna try to kill me, but it's just a fact. Like Taylor Swift fans are way more supportive than any other artist fan base, right? And if you don't believe me, let's just go to the US economy. Apparently, the Eras tour from Taylor Swift is projected to have 5 billion economic impact on the US, according to software company Question Pro, that would produce a GDP larger than 50 countries. So Taylor Swift's out here boosting the economy. So I think it's safe to say that she probably has the most supportive fan base in music currently. Anyways, let's keep going. So streaming remains the dominant source of revenue, obviously, as you see right here, and making up 84% of all recorded music revenue. Streaming revenue increased by 10.3% in the first half of 2023, reaching $7 billion, and on-demand revenue from ad-supported services increased by only 1%. So that's interesting. On-demand revenue from ad-supported services. I don't know what that means. On-demand revenue. Are they talking about like DSPs? Maybe that's what. No, that's like download supported platforms. I don't know. Anyways, Taylor Swift and Beyonce are currently making the biggest impact as far as artists in the music industry. And let's see. Oh, somebody typed. That was nice. Somebody typed in chat. They said Taylor Swift or Beyonce. That's what all the women like now. Oh, yeah. Hey, you're a prophet, because that's what I was just about to get into. So basically, Taylor Swift and Beyonce are currently making the biggest impact via live music versus recorded music. So when it comes to music, I keep saying artists don't make money off of you streaming their music. They just, if you've seen the numbers it takes to even make like $1 from streaming, it's insane. That's why they tell you to buy their music, right? They never be like, oh, just stream it. Like obviously they want you to stream it if you can't buy it, but they'll prefer you to buy it. That's because when they go on tour, and those same people who bought their music is going to be the same people who go out to the tour and buy merch while they're at the show, and buy so like for a show, right? You have to buy a hotel room, you have to eat, that costs money. You have to drive or pay for a driver, like as far as Uber, that costs money. You have to get to the stadium, buy a ticket, that costs money, of course, probably the biggest expense. And don't let you live out of state. Now you got to fly there. Or if you are far away, now you got to drive there. So many different avenues as far as making money and boosting the economy from going to live music. And Taylor Swift and Beyonce is the biggest drivers of that as far as live performances. Hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, Taylor Swift is number one. Like I just said, she's literally boosting the economy. But Beyonce is too. She is no slouch. I don't even think that needs to be said. Just have to, put it in perspective. So the growth in the number of paid streaming subscriptions is slowing down, of course, because more and more people are starting to familiarize themselves with DSPs to the point where, there's only so many people on the planet. So there's only so many accounts you can make unless you're, part of a major label. And then, you just create accounts for fake and stream, shout out to J. Cole. But anyways, what else? Vinyl records outsold CDs because of Taylor Swift. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't know any other artist that sells vinyls like Taylor Swift does. Like I just said, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but she sells one vinyl and has 3 different colorways, and one fan will buy every colorway. And I don't understand why. It's the same music, but hey, teach his own. That's why y'all the most supportive fan base in society. So anyways, overall, people continue to show a willingness to pay for music. And this information, of course, is based on RIAAs, which is the people that certify the mid-year report for 2023. All right, so getting into the charts, because I do have charts pulled up right now. So, of course, this one I had up for the most part of the segment. You see the U.S. recorded music revenue. Digital downloads is at 3%, physical copies at 11%, and sync is at 3%. Streaming is at 84%. And the reason why some articles have different numbers, because all of these places get from their own sources, but they're usually around the same number. That's why you won't see like, oh, streaming. This place says streaming is 84%, but another place says it's like 55. Like, it's going to be around the same ballpark, if that makes sense. Anyways, getting into the next chart, we have physical music revenue. So see the first half of 2021, first half of 2022, and now have the first half of 2023. So as you see, vinyls has been the biggest it's ever been in the past 3 years. Well, 2 to 3 years. And I keep attributing this to Taylor Swift because I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You already know how I feel about the vinyls and the thing with the Swifties. They just buy every single one that's available. So that's why this is bigger than any of the past years. Because if you look at it, I feel like the CDs is really not that big of a jump. But the vinyls is where the biggest jump is for music revenue. And other is probably streams. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm not going to say you don't make any money because obviously these rappers are flexing and stuff. But if they're not flexing with the advance that their major label got them or gave them, they're probably flexing with like performance money. I promise you, they're probably not flexing with streaming money. Like streaming money for artists is pretty slow, but when they buy and download and show up to the live events, that's where they make their money, most of their money from. And I believe any artist will tell you that. Anyways, and then our third and final, hold up, I think this is too big. Our third and final chart, U.S. recorded music mid-year revenues. As you can see, we have wholesale and then retail, and even this goes back to vinyl, of course. And then the retail is pretty interesting because if y'all don't know, there was a pandemic. So 2020 was rough to 2022 as far as being outside. So as far as buying clothes and stuff, like there's really no need to buy quote unquote drip because who is you going to go out and impress? Like everybody was inside, and if you wasn't inside, they was looking at you funny. So anyways, that's basically why this looks like this. And I'm still not discrediting 2023 because like I said, we could have not bounced back at all. Like the projections from us shutting down everything was looking pretty spooky, and I would say that we've bounced back pretty nicely. I know people say we're in a recession, and I'm attributing that to the pandemic, but at the end of the day, I still feel like we're getting back to where we used to be. And that's why, to bring it full circle, the music industry has now recorded an all-time high revenue of 8.4 billion, because people wanting to get outside finally felt comfortable enough to come outside, and their favorite artist was on tour, like a Taylor Swift, like a Drake, like a Beyonce. Who else is on tour? Everybody's on tour. Like a Rod Wave, a Little Baby. Literally, this is the year for artists to make their money from live events because of the pandemic, if that makes sense. Because a lot of overseas places were shut down. Even though the US opened late 2022 or 2023. No, when did they open up? Like at the beginning of 2022, I believe. Overseas places, they were still shut down. They was like, we ain't playing that. We are not opening up early. So now in 2023, I feel like this is the first full year where everything's open. I may be mistaken by that, but I do believe. And I just got a notification that Taylor Swift is at the Kelsey game tonight because Kansas City plays the Jets. And if you want that brings up another point. If you want to see another reason how impactful Taylor Swift is, actually, let me just do it for you because this is actually crazy. Taylor Swift NFL sales, right? Just supporting her boyfriend for the NFL had the biggest. Let me see, ESPN. I forget what a stat is. So Taylor Swift's presence boosted the ratings and Travis Kelce's jersey sales by 400%. Women viewership of the NFL was up 63%. Travis Kelce's IG following was up 600,000. Travis Kelce's podcast went to #1 on Apple, and like I just said, Travis Kelce's jersey sales went up 400%. And lastly, and definitely shame on you, Kansas City Chiefs, because y'all know what y'all was doing. Those ticket sales went up basically 3 times. So like the price of the ticket went up because for some reason, being in the same building as Taylor Swift, everybody loves to do that. So it don't matter if she performing or not. So the Taylor Swift effect is real. I'm not just saying that because I'm I'm a Swiftie or whatever. I just like to look at the numbers, as you know, I call myself Analytic Dreamz. I like to look at the numbers and see who running them up the most. And at this point in time, it's definitely Taylor Swift. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about the music industry recording an all-time high revenue of 8.4 billion in the first half of 2023? And what do you think is the biggest reason for music revenue setting this record? Breaking news. And by breaking news, I mean news that's been broke a couple days ago. WGA writers' strike is officially ending. But what does that mean for video game connoisseurs like myself? There's a possibility of a video game voice actor strike. And the reason why is because once you see something work for one group of people in a way that benefits them financially, you're going to be more enticed to do the same thing to get that same financial benefit. So not everybody's looking to strike to up their money, right? First it was the pilots. If y'all forget, if y'all remember, the pilots went on strike. Like, not too many people, be filming the pilots because I guess they're not famous or whatever, but they literally fly in the plane and have to have a bunch of people's lives in their hands. So they went on strike. So it was, all the airlines was going through it, so they had to pay them, right? UPS workers, they went on strike. And no, they threatened. They didn't even go on strike. They threatened to go on strike, and UPS was like, "We know we can't handle this. All these packages getting delayed. Nope, can't do it. That's lawsuit after lawsuit after. Like, imagine you need something important getting delivered to you and it gets delayed. Nah, can't do that." So they basically got a pay increase way before they even went on strike. Now, obviously, I'm conflating some issues, but now we had SAG-AFTRA and WGA go on strike, and WGA just came to an agreement with the studios, and to the point where they received not everything, but most of what they wanted. So the deal that they finally, were offered was acceptable by them. So with that being said, all of these strikes are efficient in increasing revenue for the workers. So why not more groups? Why wouldn't more groups follow suit? And that's what I'm here to talk about. So the video game voice actors are set to go on strike. SAG-AFTRA, of course, is still on strike. Representing artists is seeking strike authorization from voice actor artists, and if approved, the strike could impact video game companies like EA, Activision, and Insomniac. Shameless plug to my Analytic Dreamz video podcast on Spotify to look at the video version along with the audio. But if you don't know, Insomniac is basically over the Spider-Man franchise currently, with Spider-Man PS4, Spider-Man 2, which is already finished, so like those aren't in jeopardy. But they're currently working on Wolverine, which that could be pushed back. A project that we haven't heard anything about yet, that could get pushed back. And EA works on all type of stuff, from Star Wars to basically EA has a lot of stuff that could get pushed back. So from Star Wars to like sports games, like it's gonna get pushed back. And of course, Activision with Call of Duty, like everybody knows Activision. That stuff, honestly, all you got to say is Call of Duty gonna get pushed back, and I think the lines are gonna start getting blurred about who supports who, But obviously, I support this strike, as it's for the workers being compensated more for the work. Like, in the midst of a recession, why not compensate your workers for doing the job well, right? Actors are concerned about the violation of the voices and AI projects without consent. So it comes back full circle to what the WGA was originally striking for. The uses of AI is to a point where you can do some unthinkable things and get away with it. So now you have to crack down even harder so that your hard work isn't being mimicked in other ways via AI technology. Because we're at the point now where Bard, Chatbot GPT, Bing just came out with some type of AI. But anyways, these AIs can do stuff that you cannot imagine. And I didn't even get into the voice recognition side of things. AI can start mimicking voices to the point where you would think something is said by a person, but it's completely AI. Like, that's how legit technology has advanced too. With that being said, they also seek better compensation and residuals given the rising cost of living and industry revenues. And the strike could have international implications for video game actors. And the strike authorization received overwhelming support from union members, of course. The authorization doesn't guarantee a strike, but provides leverage in negotiations. Because if somebody doesn't think you'll leave from a deal, why would they go back and change it basically to take more money out of their pockets? Like, owners, I saw this quote, right? I wasn't going to even bring this up. Hold up. Let me see if I can find this, because this quote was ridiculous. And this pertains to the topic, so that's why I gotta look this up. Hopefully it just pulls it up. I think I'm getting better with technology. I don't know. Oh, I am. All right, here we go. Sometimes I'll be struggling. All right, here we go. A millionaire CEO calls for a 40% rise in unemployment because workers are, quote, too arrogant. I kid you not. And if you don't believe me, look at this for yourself. And for people over at the video channel, here it is in full.
I think the problem that we've had is that,
oh, hold on, that's way too low.
That we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years.
He said paid a lot to not do much.
And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise.
This man said we need to see unemployment rise and to jump by 40 and 50%.
Has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the...
I wonder if this man, it looks like this man is talking in front of a live audience, which is very telling, because you know how when sometimes people get to monologuing or giving a soliloquy and people in the crowd, they'll start applauding, right? They'll start, yeah, that's right, you go, yeah, you talking. Everybody's dead silent while he's saying this, because who in the world is going to clap for somebody saying, we need to see a rise in unemployment? I swear to you, I cannot make this up.
The other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting.
And I think the wording is very interesting. He said we have to kill that attitude of employers feeling lucky for the employee. I messed it up. Basically, he wants to kill the attitude of the employee feeling lucky, or no, thinking that the employer is lucky to have them. Basically saying that they need to feel like they're workers instead of being empowered and feel like they're adding to the company. That's technically what he's saying. He like, don't think y'all added to nothing. Like, obviously we give y'all a paycheck, but don't feel like we're lucky to have you. Like, and that's, look, he's gonna keep going.
In the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employer.
And that is a point where I think that was his best point, what he said right here.
Be talking about it, but people are definitely laying off. People might not be talking it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off.
There are massive layoffs happening, and it is because owners really think like this man is thinking. He's just brave enough to say it. I don't know if it's brave, arrogant, could be both. He's basically the only one saying it, but he's telling you exactly how owners feel about employers. And probably 90 to 95% of owners feel like this right now.
People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
So, like I said, these owners aren't playing around. So that's why all these strikes are happening, because guess what? The employees are also not playing around. So now we at a crossroad. So what else? A strike could also have international implications for video game actors. The strike authorization received overwhelming support. I already said that. Doesn't guarantee a strike. Negotiations have been going. Okay, so negotiations have been ongoing for nearly a year, focusing on compensation, AI use, and safety measures. I think that's about the WGA stuff. The next negotiation rounds, that's WGA. The strike aims to address the needs of voice actors to earn fair compensation and protect their livelihoods. And that, ladies and gentlemen, sums up the majority of what I've been talking about this entire segment. If the owner feels like how this guy in the video was talking, the only way to show that employers are also serious about their work is to go on strike. So obviously, being in a recession, we're going to go through stuff like this. Workers want to get paid more. Employers think they don't do enough to make more. So we just go on strike. Now let's see. Now we're not doing anything. Then we gonna see what you come back with for the counter offer. So that's currently where we're at. And once again, it's a possibility. Nothing set in stone, but it seems like it's getting more and more likely to happen, especially with all of these strikes ending in a positive result for the employees. Like, so why not follow suit? So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about WGA writer strike ending? One. And also, what do you think about the possibility of a video game voice actor strike? I do want to start off by saying that with this podcast being the Notorious Mass Effect, it means that I love to cover gaming and hip hop. One thing I came to find out was CEOs in the video game community beef more than rappers do. Like, as far as CEO beef, I believe, in my personal opinion, is way more entertaining than any rapper beef that currently exists in the modern day. And with that being said, let's get into our segment, which is PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan and his comments on the Xbox Game Pass. Now, obviously, this man retired, but we're not going to get to that point just yet, because guess what? If you're working a job for a while and right before you retire, you just take one last shot at the opposition, like a big shot. So it's like, this is like some crash out mission against your opposition right before you retire. You gotta respect it. Like, for Jim Ryan to spin the block, figuratively, on Phil Spencer and trash his vision one last time before retiring, you just have to respect it, man. You gotta respect it. But anyways, in all seriousness, Jim Ryan called the Xbox Game Pass value destructive, which, as a music connoisseur, I have a pretty interesting perspective on, because streaming for musicians cut their profits in a way that I don't think they would have projected. Now, hear me out. Physical copies obviously make artists way more money than you press and play on whatever DSP you use to listen to their music. That's why artists always say either purchase my album, download my album, but then after those two options, they always say stream, because stream is the least amount as far as revenue. That's the least amount of revenue they get. Artists don't make money from people streaming their music. They make money from purchases of albums, purchases of merch, purchases of tickets for the live performance. So whenever all the music in the world is under a subscription model, it lessens the value for the field. So I understand, and I honestly agree where Jim Ryan is coming to with the value destructive point. I believe this was literally a reason why WGA went on strike, because if you think about it, you're not going to tell me 50, that's not even, I don't know how many people work on a movie. Hold on, let's look that up. On average, how many people work on a movie? Because for music, obviously you can have your producer, rapper, you may get some other people, but for the most part, it doesn't take that many people to make a track, which why people are like, hey, streaming is not that bad. But for movies, right, it takes about 500 people to work on a movie. And obviously it could vary depending on the scope and size of the film. But for video games, right, let's do video games. Let's not even do video games, because PlayStation is in the business of AAA video games. Let's do AAA video games, which, you, if you don't know, that's like the biggest studio, the biggest development team size you can have. I believe that's how you quantify it as AAA. Anyways, because I'm getting to a point with this, because I wanted to start off basically saying I acknowledge, and I feel like his point is on the nose, but then this point is why no, actually, no, this adds on to my like agreeance. Is that a word? I don't think so. Anyways, I agree with what he's saying, and this is my other statement to back that up. Around 100 to 200 people work on a AAA video game. So when it comes to music, it already is like 1 to 2 people, maybe more, for a single song. Like you hear rappers like Lil Wayne making like 50 songs in the studio in one night, right? You're not making 50 games, 50 nothing. No movie, video game, nothing in one night. Like that's just not possible, not happening ever. So basically the scope to or the size of the team you need to make a video game and to make movies is way more than you need to make music, right? But that's not the discussion. I basically bring that up to say this is even more egregious, which is with them going to streaming because of how many people it takes. Like people let music slide because they're like, it really doesn't take that much to make a single song or whatever. But for video games and movies, they're like, ain't no way we put all this work just for you to put us under a $10 to $13 paywall amongst a variety of other movies. It's like our work is way more valuable than that. So I get where Jim Ryan is coming from with the value destructive standpoint. And he also said that publishers, which is like EA, Insomniac, From Software, like people who develop games, right? Well, no, I think that's development studios. Publishers is like EA. Publishers is like I think Activision is a publisher. Basically the big dogs, right? Who has like subsidiaries of game developers. They said that Jim Ryan, CEO of PlayStation, said that those publishers unanimously, well, he said publishers in general, so let me not be specific because that's incorrect. So publishers unanimously said that they do not like the Game Pass because it's value destructive. So first he said it's value destructive, then he backed up his statement by saying that publishers also believe that it's value destructive, but he did not specify which publishers expressed these concerns. So it could be cap. You could just be saying that, because I believe that you should never believe an anonymous source. Like, if it's such a no, that's I mean that's too broad, right? Obviously, anonymous sources in some aspects is great, because like, what if some violence is happening? But in the lighthearted topics of, for example, if you watch sports, when they say anonymous GM came out and said this player trash, like sources like that, when that's anonymous, I don't believe it at all. I'm like, for lighthearted topics such as this and subjects such as this, you cannot be anonymous and think your point is going to be taken seriously. So when Jim Ryan put his name on this and said it's value destructive, I agree. When he said publishers and he didn't specify, I'm like, I don't know if you're really telling the truth with, like, because what if he's just talking about publisher that's falling off? Like, yeah, I'm agree with you just to, you know, like just to boost you up and hopefully you put my game on your platform. But anyways, Xbox head Phil Spencer reported to the UK Competition and Markets Authority that Game Pass, because, you know, of course, with CEO beef, they got to shoot at each other. And when they get shot, they shooting back. When he gets shot, I'm shooting right back. Like, it's a never-ending battle, right? Xbox head Phil Spencer reported to the UK Competition and Markets Authority that Game Pass led to a decline in the market value. What? That Game Pass led to a decline in the market value. Oh, is this when it was getting sued? That's interesting. So he basically agreeing with the PlayStation CEO. I mean, there's no way that there's no way you're gonna tell me that streaming is good for the field. There's just no way. There's too many people that work on video games. $13 paywall to play any game you want. Lessons the pay for everybody making that video game. That's just something I believe is a fact. Obviously, people be like, oh, well, you can go buy the game if you want to support it. Well, I'm also not stupid. If I can purchase a product for $13, why would I purchase it for $70? You know? Anyways, let's get back to it. So I remember when Xbox was acquiring Activision, PlayStation was like, oh, it's a monopoly and all that type of stuff. And then that's when reports like Phil Spencer was coming out basically saying the Game Pass led to the decline, basically saying they broke and they need Activision and we ain't no monopoly, right? So I do remember when that stuff started coming out. Like Microsoft was copping pleas to get Activision or to acquire Activision. They was like, man, we trash. Like we like, please have us Activision. Like we ain't nothing close to a monopoly. Like honestly, our Game Pass led to a decline in market value. So that's how that came about. Anyways, Microsoft as a company, though, of course, is doing phenomenal. Like, I mean, they sell other products besides gaming. Like, gaming loses them money. I think everything else makes them a surplus of money because they reported that they had $3 billion in profits from the subscription service in 2022. And they also increased the price for Game Pass in July 2023, but only for the console version because they probably realized that we're not making no money, we losing money. Might as well raise the subscription price because it just makes sense. We're paying way too much than we're making. Jim Ryan also announced. In conclusion, after Jim Ryan spun the block like there was nowhere to park, shout out to 21 Savage, and shot at CEO Phil Spencer in a way that he could not come back from, basically saying that the Game Pass is very destructive to the value of video games. Phil Spencer had no response. So I don't know if that was the white flag that he needed to send off, but after that shot, he basically was like Thanos at the end of Infinity War. And just looking into the sunset, because now it came out that he announced his retirement from Sony Interactive, of course, in March 2024 after almost 30 years. That's longer than I've been alive. This man been working for a company for almost 30 years with the PlayStation business. So his successor is I'm not trying to be funny. It's I can't pronounce this. Hiroki Totoki. Hiroki Totoki. Hopefully I said that right. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. I swear I'm not trying to be funny. What else? So he's gonna be Sony Group Corporation president, will assume the role of chairman of SIE effective October 2023 and serve as interim CEO of PlayStation starting April 2024. Jim Ryan also mentioned that it became increasingly challenging for him to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I'm not laughing, but come on now. Why that man living in Europe? Y'all know why he living in Europe. You know what I mean? if it ain't tax evasion, I don't know what it is. Nah, let me chill. Let me chill. That's a lot to put on somebody. But hey, people live overseas for a reason. Shout out to the Logan and Jake Paul. So, anyways, I know what he doing. That man said, "Hey, I can't be over here. I think you have to live over there for like 140 to 200 days to be considered like a citizen, not a citizen, but for your taxes to be like the same as overseas taxes." I don't know. I'm not going to get into the scheme because people be playing the game and the game is to be sold, not told. And that is not what this segment is about. So anyways, at the end of the day, PlayStation CEO spun the block on Microsoft CEO. And after he completely demolished him, he decided it was time to retire. But in all seriousness, at the end of the day, they still respect each other, as Microsoft's CEO, Phil Spencer, tweeted his appreciation for Jim Ryan and his contributions to the industry and wished him the best in his future endeavors. Yeah, all right. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about PlayStation CEO spinning the block on the Xbox CEO, and basically the Xbox CEO having no retort and actually having statements out there dignifying what Jim Ryan said? And do you think that the Xbox Game Pass is value destructive for the gaming industry? Sony saw Microsoft out here spending dough like it was going out of style, and they was like, hey, we can do that too. Because they just spent $329 million on third-party deals in a fiscal year, right? Also, development personnel and in-house costs will increase by approximately $183 million. And recent partnerships include Haven Entertainment Studios and a $200 million investment in Epic Games. Reason why I say that is because I don't call myself Analytic Dreamz for no reason. I be watching who is running up the numbers and who's spending the bread to make that happen. Because if you don't know, currently Microsoft is buying any and every publisher they can possibly buy. Like literally, they started buying so many that PlayStation took them to court. It was like, ain't no way you're gonna acquire Activision without us taking you to court. And guess what? They took them to court, and because Microsoft, if you don't know, in the grand scale of things, they have way more money than Sony. So they ended up winning that whole lawsuit. And it was like, we're acquiring Activision, and we're just gonna promise to not make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. Wink, wink. They're gonna make some Call of Duty 2.0, call it something else, and make it exclusive to Xbox. Like Xbox, like Microsoft, not slick. Like they was real tongue in cheek with the whole, we're not gonna make Call of Duty exclusive. Like, yeah, all right, watch out for a Titanfall-esque game to come out and be exclusive to Xbox. Like, even though that's developed by Respawn, but I'm just giving y'all an example. So yeah, this story is really not too much about it that's complex. Really, it's just Sony is trying to use exclusive games to boost PS5 sales, such as Demon Souls remake, upcoming titles like those games already came out. PlayStation 5, let me see, has been successful despite stock shortages, of course, and they face criticism for temporary closure of digital storefronts for older PlayStation consoles. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, with that being said, the biggest reason I'm even covering them is because Sony investing $300 million in first-party studios is the main objective for right now. And they said that the investment is for developing software at existing studios and releasing games on multiple platforms. They trying to pull a Microsoft. Like, yeah, we're gonna put these games out on multiple platforms. Oh no, we're gonna have these publishers put out these games on multiple platforms, and then somehow, some way, a game's gonna go console exclusive. Cause I could have swore that Starfield was supposed to be on PlayStation. Am I tripping? Nowhere did I hear that Starfield was an Xbox exclusive. When Starfield was first announced, I was under the impression that it was coming out on every console. Now, obviously, they wasn't like, oh, it's coming out on every console, but they wasn't like, oh, it's coming out only for Xbox. So I'm like, I was confused. I was just like, I see a game trailer. I'm thinking it's gonna be available for every console. It comes closer to release date. They're like, oh, by the way, it's an Xbox exclusive. Well, I guess I'm playing Cyberpunk then. But anyways, so Sony also sees value in first-party software and continues to increase funding for own studios, of course, because if you don't pour more money to the studios that's creating these hits, then why, try to go out and buy more first party? It's not like the people they have not making no hits, like Spider-Man, Horizon, Ratchet and Clank, God of War. Like they putting out some hits. Like I think Ghost of Tsushima was a PlayStation exclusive. Like there was a stretch where literally PlayStation was having every game of the year come out on their console exclusively, to the point where everybody was like, does the Xbox even have games? Like obviously it's a lot better this year, much more improved this year with Hi-Fi Rush, with Starfield. Is Liza P exclusive to Xbox? I don't know. Anyways, Xbox has actual games now, and so that joke of Xbox having no games is unfortunately played out, because that was one of my favorite jokes to make. But anyways, Sony plans to aggressively invest in first-party studios, including Naughty Dog and Santa Monica Studio. If you don't know Naughty Dog, I don't. That's crazy. I brought up the PlayStation exclusives. I didn't even bring up Last of Us. Last of Us, so good they done turned into a TV show. But that's exclusive on PlayStation. I forgot about that one. So Naughty Dog makes Last of Us. Santa Monica Studios, I believe they make God of War. Anyways, the company aims to strengthen the PlayStation platform and enhance social and platform capabilities of games. Global playtime on PlayStation platforms increased by 20% in March compared to March 2019. If you don't know, I think that was the turning point for when people started to realize that Spider-Man was exclusive to PlayStation. God of War was exclusive to PlayStation. Like, why do we even have an Xbox? So I think that's when it started to turn the tide overwhelmingly in Sony's favor. So that's why that March 2019 date is very interesting, because that's when I think it happened. But anyways, Sony expects to continue to have continued player engagement for the fiscal year ahead. And of course they will, because at this point, I mean, Starfield's definitely going to help out Xbox a lot, but with Cyberpunk coming out right after Starfield, which I still think is a strategic move, even though it's multi-platform, but now people who have that Starfield itch could kind of scratch it with Cyberpunk. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, obviously you can't go to, well, it's a spoiler, so I'm not going to say that. Let's just say you can scratch that itch with Cyberpunk. So, because for me, I was thinking about getting a whole console to play Starfield. Like, Starfield looks really good to me. Obviously to a lot of other people, but some people are hating on it. But now I can just play Cyberpunk, which is probably what I'm gonna do after I beat Spider-Man at least 20 billion times when it comes out October 20th. So anyways, click my link here in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Sony investing $300 million into its first party PlayStation studios and focusing more on third party deals? And yeah. So what do you think about PlayStation investing heavily into PlayStation 5, including third-party deals and first-party studios? And what studio would you like to see Sony invest more dollars into? It is about time to get into one of the biggest comeback stories since Paul George and him breaking his leg and coming back to the Clippers. Because let me tell you something. A lot of things are broken. Things break all the time. Bones, hearts, buildings, objects in buildings. Basically, you get what I'm about to say, right? Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the most broken games I've ever seen. As far as in totality, Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the more broken games I've ever seen. Because honestly, some people was able to play the game as soon as it launched and get through it with no problems, right? That's why I say in totality. Because when I tell you I've seen glitches in a video game that I thought wasn't even possible. I saw a man drive a car right through a building and nothing broke. Like, and he wasn't supposed to be in that area in the slightest. Like, he was just driving, went right through the building, and went off the map. I've never seen that before in a video game. I know for some of y'all probably like, man, that ain't nothing. But for me, I like to play games that work. So I've never seen nothing like that. Now, I'm not going to spend most of this time explaining how broken of a game Cyberpunk 2077 was, because the reason why I say Paul George is, in fact, or it's for a fact, that Cyberpunk 2077 has officially fixed itself. Phantom Liberty DLC is one of the best marketing strategies I've seen for a video game this year, because they're essentially charging for a whole new game, but for half a game for people who already have the base game, if that makes sense. So I'm about to explain it, right? And before I explain it, make sure to follow my Analytic Dreamz video podcast on Spotify for the video along with the audio, because right now it's kind of like showing the graphics, performance, and ray tracing mode for the PS5 and Xbox. If you want to see that along with what I'm talking about, then you can. With that being said, what I want to get at is Cyberpunk. I lost my train of thought. So we're just gonna completely change whatever I was about to say. Phantom Liberty. Oh, I remember. Sorry, I'm not that old yet. But so the base game is $30, right? The DLC is an additional $30. If you've never played Cyberpunk, you are essentially, I know new gen games are technically $70 now, but back in the, well, not back in the old day, like a year or two ago, you will be paying for essentially the full price for a game. If you buy the base game and then you buy the DLC, that's basically the price of a full game. Now, I know this may not be revolutionary, or it may not be super basically it's probably not the pioneer of DLC, right? But for me personally, this is the first time I've seen a marketing strategy where they essentially released a full price game in a way that doesn't make it seem like it was once broken. Hopefully this makes sense. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, which is Phantom Liberty is a major DLC for Cyberpunk 2077. So it's not like, oh, they're charging you just because they fixed the game. This DLC adds new stories. We have a whole new A-list actor in the game, in Idris Elba. Keanu Reeves is back, and is very involved in the DLC story. Has new story, district, characters, weapons, vehicles. Like, it adds a plethora of new things with Phantom Liberty. So it's not just charging people for no reason. It's just because, oh, we fixed the game, so now we just raise the price. No, they're really showcasing how much they believe in this setting by developing a new DLC and continuing, because it's been like 3 years since this game came out, I believe. And they've continued to work on this to the point where people say is now officially, it only took 3 years, but it's officially at the point where they believe it should have been at the start, as far as it just being completely polished from start to finish. Obviously, you may run into bugs, but at this point, you most likely won't. And what they've suggested is you start as a new character instead of putting effort into continuing your existing character. I don't know why they say that. I think they're just saying that as another part of the to bring this full circle, as part of what I was saying about the marketing strategy. I think they're just saying that so somebody out there wants to play the game again. They're like, oh, they're basically telling me it's a brand new game, and now you're paying $30 for the base game, paying $30 for DLC, basically then pay for a whole new game. And so now essentially CD Projekt Red then effectively found a way to put out the game again, if that makes sense. Obviously, DLC, has a way to bring people back to your game, but not in this manner. Cyberpunk is basically being talked about like it's a whole new game, and that I have not seen in a while. So that is why I credit the marketing strategy, because you don't see this with broken games. I think if it wasn't for the anime, dang, I forgot what it's called. I watched it too. The Cyberpunk, I think it was called Edge Runners. I forget what it's called. Basically, the anime, I watched it, right, in its entirety. And when I tell you, I'm not even an anime person. That was one of the greatest pieces of TV I watched in a while. Like, the pacing was immaculate. The story was engaging. It every single character, you would have liked to see a whole series based on them. That's how good that TV show was. And I think there's no spoiler, but I think they could have stretched this TV show out to like 3 to 4 series at the very least. The amount of stuff they cover, they could have stretched that one season into like 3 to 4 seasons, which inherently lets you know that they're not taking your time for granted. They're getting into the story in a way that is really captivating, and one of the best storytelling, like one of the best executions of storytelling I've seen in a while. So anyways, of course, how do you start Phantom Liberty is something that Cyberpunk fans are probably wondering. And like I said, you can start with a new or existing character, and you would need to complete the transmission main story mission and then receive a call from Song So Mi to start. I don't know what that is because I ain't never played the game. But hey, if you want to learn how to start Phantom Liberty, you can. And like I said, there's no spoilers being said throughout this whole entire segment. I'm just covering the basis of Cyberpunk. So the biggest new features from this DLC is improved police and enemy AI, which was a big deal. Revamped user interface which was another big deal. A whole new map in Dogtown, which is really an extension of the original map. New activities and side quests, of course. New weapons, cyberware. What else? New radio stations. Oh, that's another thing. I'm not gonna. Well, I might as well. So Idris Elba put out this Cyberpunk song, right? And I reviewed it on my podcast. So definitely look up Idris Elba, Notorious Mass Effect. It should definitely pop up. But this man put out a track for Cyberpunk. He put out 3 tracks. I kid you not. One of them sounded like he was doing a good impersonation, like not bad, a good impersonation of Travis Scott. Another song sounded like he was doing a good impersonation of the rapper Dave, aka Lil Dicky. And then the third one sounded like this man was just straight up Daft Punk, if that's how you say it, and Marshmello, the way it was just like some techno beat type of vibe. So anyways, that was fantastic. What else? New weapons, vehicles. Okay, I already said all that. It's basically how to get it. Okay, so how to get the Phantom Liberty DLC, right? So the standalone purchase is $19.99, so it's $20 on PC. Oh, I'm tripping. It's $20 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. Dang, so I was $10 off with the DLC, and it's included in. It's included on. Sorry, I was fixing it for the video people on Spotify. So it's $20 for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Cyberpunk 2077 Season Pass is for $30. So that's what's for $30. And it includes future updates. So it's already included. If you bought the Season Pass, you already get it. So that's another way they reward people for already being invested. Requires the base game. So that's the thing I was saying. Like, you have to buy the base game and then buy the DLC. Includes a free update with various changes for all players. So it probably comes out to $50 instead of $60. I thought it was $60. So I don't know why I thought the standalone DLC. I swear I looked it up on the PlayStation. I went to my PlayStation Marketplace, right? I looked at it, it said 30. I looked at the base game, it said 30. So I just assumed 60. So maybe that's incorrect. Maybe it's only 50. But anyways, you're still paying basically for a new game. What else? That's basically it. So shout out to CD Projekt Red for taking the time out to actually fix their game and, showcasing what it looks like for developers to actually care about a game instead of just trying to get a cash grab. Because for the longest, when Avengers came out, I mean, they was putting out DLC and stuff, and they was like, oh, it's serviceable, but they still trying to get you for your money. With CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk, the reason why they didn't end up like the Avengers is because they actually cared about the game. They wasn't just trying to squeeze people out of money, and so they improved upon the base foundation into what it is now. And what some people are saying, this is one of the better games of 2023 because it's by far and away better than any RPG because it's the amount you get as far as content if you're starting from scratch is insane. You could be playing this game for months and still not run out of stuff to do. And for some games, aka Starfield, with it being at its at its foundation, it may not have as much content because granted, Cyberpunk's been around longer, so now it has more stuff built in, fixed than Starfield would. So instead of like, I would speak specifically for me. Instead of me going out right and purchasing a whole entire console just to play Starfield, which I was contemplating doing, I now have Cyberpunk, which is a polished game ready for anybody to pick up on any console. And you could argue you get 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more content than you do in Starfield. So anyways, that's basically all I have for Cyberpunk. I think I covered everything. That's basically it. Yeah, that's basically it. So the biggest changes, like I said, to reiterate, with the 2.0 update is improved police AI, vehicle combat, and overhauled perk system. And of course, if you want to see like the more in-depth, I mean, definitely follow Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 updates. You know, they put out patch notes all the time. So anyways, click on my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC? And also, what do you think about CD Projekt Red finally putting out the game that everybody hoped for it to be in the first place? So in all actuality, Elden Ring hasn't been as braggadocious in 2023 because they could really talk their stuff, you know? From Software made a video game that literally had all game developers push their game back into the next year because guess what? Elden Ring had Game of the Year wrapped up. When Elden Ring came out, everybody knew there was no game that was going to compete with this one. This is the I think it's the right word. This is the crucible, the apex of gaming. Elden Ring is one of the best games I've ever played in life. And I've played a good amount of games. But for 2023, they decided to, not rub it in the face of too many people, as not too much news has been coming out about Elden Ring. But I do believe the reason why not too much news has came out for Elden Ring, because if you know, the developers who made Elden Ring, they're called From Software. From Software made Armor Core. Armor Core came out this year. So I think to not take away too much promotion from that marketing rollout, they didn't show or highlight Elden Ring news too much. Because if you're a studio that has a mammoth of a game as successful as Elden Ring, and you're trying to put out another game, well, every single time you put out news about Elden Ring, it's just gonna completely, I think submerge is the word, the hype for your upcoming game, because everybody's gonna be like, oh, you're putting out new stuff for the game we actually care about. But from what I've heard, Armor Core is actually pretty solid in that Armor Core should also be a candidate for Game of the Year this year. Because if you don't know, there's a lot of games up for Game of the Year this year. And I think that's the Elden Ring effect. Like, none of these games that came out this year was better than Elden Ring last year. And I'm sorry to people who don't like confusing games or hard games, but I think it's one of those things. It's like reading. It's like once you start, you get into the world and the world building, and then you're just in it. You realize that it's way more exciting and enticing than you would originally thought. Like it's more captivating than you would have than your wildest imagination. And I'm not even trying to be funny. It's like getting into a good book, which if you don't read, then that probably doesn't help you. But it's like getting into a good video game, getting into a good movie. That's what Elden Ring is. Like think of your favorite entertainment. That's the video game format would be Elden Ring. So much lore, gameplay mechanics. And now what this segment is basically about, DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree is a major Elden Ring DLC that's supposed to have a bunch of story impact and a significant amount of content for players to play. So we're very excited for it to come out. It says it's releasing in February, like the original game. So From Software's silence about the DLC's release date may be part of the strategic marketing plan because, like what I said, Armor Core they also made, so I don't think they just want to kill the excitement or the hype for that game. So they're trying to promote Armor Core by not talking about Elden Ring as much. With that being said, fans are still waiting for the Elden Ring DLC. Don't think that the hype has died down for Elden Ring. We just haven't received any news because they're hyping up the other game they're making. But once they come out with news about the game we actually want to hear about, the hype is going to build up to a level that you're like, oh wow, this game is still relevant. And yes, it is still relevant. And for the people wondering, I know I got a couple questions on my Spotify, shameless plug, Analytic Dreamz video podcast on my Spotify channel to see the video along with the audio. But basically, somebody was asking me, they was like, hey, are you ever going to finish the Elden Ring? Literally, they said like that. It was like, are you ever going to finish that Elden Ring? I was like, it's not really, but I'm not trying to be rude out here. I mean, it's just helping people out day by day. Anyways, I told him, yeah, I told him I was going to finish it at some point. About some point, I mean, whatever I get around to, I ain't gonna lie. I'm playing a lot of games. If I wasn't playing games, I would have been finished it. But I do call myself a gamer for a reason. I like a plethora of different games, a variety of games. I feel like my palette is pretty expansive, if I do say so myself. So I should get around to beating Elden Ring, hopefully before the deal. Like what I'm projecting, right? I play Mortal Kombat until Spider-Man comes out. I play Spider-Man to the end of the year, and then January I can end up beating Elden Ring. I know what you're saying. October, November, December, you're gonna be playing Spider-Man? Yes, I'm going to beat Spider-Man. I'm going to beat Spider-Man again, and I'm gonna beat Spider-Man again. It's gonna be an everlasting cycle of me playing Spider-Man. Like that game's gonna, and I may play it into 2024, but once January starts, I think I'm gonna try to finish Elden Ring. So for that specific person that asked that question if I was gonna beat Elden Ring, yes, I do plan on doing it. So if you follow the Spotify, which he does, I'm just saying for other people, if you follow that channel, that's where I put all my gameplay walkthroughs and stuff. So that being said, lost my place. So yeah, it's basically it. They're talking about marketing strategies and stuff. They say that there's rumored, allegedly, take it with a grain of salt, supposed to be a trailer for the DLC announcement for the Game Awards at December, which would make a lot of sense. I mean, why not showcase a trailer at the show where you literally won best game of the year? Like it was wrapped up. Like people was like, oh, is God of War Ragnarok gonna beat out Elden Ring? Like it wasn't no real conversation. Like everybody was just trying to think of a runner up. So this year, I feel like there's a lot more competition, but that's just simply because Elden Ring doesn't exist. So honestly, this year, nah, I'm not. I would call Baldur's Gate, nah, because it's such a niche game. Like at least with Elden Ring, like you can gravitate towards some mechanics. I feel like turn-based games is very niche. Nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it has the mass appeal like an Elden Ring can have. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Elden Ring and the Shadow of the Erdtree being rumored to have a trailer released for the Game Awards show this December? And are you excited to play the DLC? Or are you excited to play Elden Ring once more? Now, before I start, right? I was saying this to my live chat, but this is what I gotta do. I gotta point out that 4% of my audience is from Mexico. We do around 80,000 weekly downloads every week. So this is what I want to say, right? If I cover this segment involving the cartel, if I ever come to Mexico, I need a certain majority of the 3,200 people to protect me. Because what I'm about to say is not in offense. I do not mean no. I can't even get it out. I'm so flustered. Right. I'm not speaking negative about the cartel. I'm just covering this segment in a way that I believe is impactful to the masses, and especially for Peso Pluma fans. All right. So with that being said, let's get into the segment. Remember, no offensive or no offense to anybody who this may concern, right? All type of please, I'm copping. 2 for 1 sale, the way I'm copping, please. Anyways, so Peso Pluma, if y'all don't know, Mexican musician, I've said multiple times, he's my favorite, right? This particular track from him, I think it's called Culona. Let's see if I can pull this up. Honestly, it's on my playlist, and my playlist is on my my link tree if you want to look at it. But yeah, so Karol G and Peso Pluma, Culona, that track is beyond fire. I don't care if I don't know a single word. That track is straight fuego. So with that being said, Peso Pluma is one of those type of artists, musicians that's running up the charts on Billboard, and he's running up the charts. Well, he's running up the charts in real life. So by real life, I mean like his fans are showing up to his performances. And with that, that's where this segment, that's where this comes into play, because he had to cancel a show in Tijuana, I think J with an H, so Tijuana, Mexico, due to alleged threats, death threats from the cartel. The threats were made through narco, I don't know, hey, I'm just reading off the news, another plea cop. The threats were made through narco mantis banners, supposedly on behalf of the cartel. Is that a name? Definitely not snitching. Let's keep going. The banners warned Peso Pluma not to perform on October 14th, stating it will be his last performance. That would spook me. Let's keep going. Peso Pluma's management announced the show's cancellation on Instagram, citing the safety of everyone involved. And I do have up the announcement he made for one of the canceled dates. It's just in Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, if you don't read Spanish, you out of luck. So anyways, let's keep going. The artist's songs contain references to the narco lifestyle, including mentions of Joe Queen, El Chapo Guzman, drugs, and weaponry. Obviously, you know who El Chapo is, right? Let's keep going. Authorities arrested a man responsible for placing the threatening banners in Tijuana. So the person who put that banner up was arrested. I'm not going to speak on any side. All I'm going to say is, they did what they had to do. Let's keep going. Peso Pluma's popularity has grown rapidly, but his lyrics have drawn criminal attention, leading to safety concerns for concert goers. Dang, what is this? The Mexican Travis Scott? Anyways, his next scheduled concert after the cancellation is on September 30th in Chula Vista. Now, the reason why I wanted to touch on this is because it's very interesting the way that the certain powers that be can influence entertainment. That's why I'm gonna leave it at. As we just saw somebody connected to Tupac's murder that happened 23 years ago just now be solved only because he's blatantly profiting off of that incident through books, interviews, and things of that nature. Police was like, we're not gonna have that. You're not just gonna be out here bragging about this murder, one of the biggest unsolved murders, quote unquote, and you're just out here bragging about it. So we're gonna lock you up, and now your charged with allegedly giving the weapon to the killer when originally you were supposed to have immunity, right? So I say all that to say this. The legal system is very interesting in the way they let certain things slide and not others. And that's all I'm gonna say. So hey, like I said, 2 for 1 on Please Cops, because I'm copping them. Click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. For my Peso Pluma fans out there, how do y'all feel about his standing, his stance against, how do you find his situation with the cartel? And for the people there, how serious is it? And do you think Peso Pluma will be able to keep rising as an up and coming artist with this type of heat and death threats from the cartel? The beef between Nicki and Cardi is forever lasting, right? So now, when we get into the husbands, quote unquote, beefing, because really, as we've seen and as it's unfolded, it's a one-sided beef. And it's resulted in him being sentenced to house arrest, to be in a video proclaiming that we're outside, yeah, you guys ain't here, but hey, don't mess with me because me and my homies, we outside. And then, not even 24 hours after, to be sentenced to house arrest for violating the terms of his probation. That's just beyond idiotic. You know, it's to the point where we have to start looking at Nicki Minaj and why she's even with him because of certain stuff that he's convicted on. Like literally convicted for certain stuff that's like, he's convicted for stuff that if I have, like, I'm gonna say it, but literally I have to preface it with, this could be a trigger warning for somebody, right? Nicki's husband is convicted for the attempted rape of Jennifer Hugh in 1994, for which he served over 4 years in prison. And then after the fact, Hugh, the victim, all the way in 2021, sued Petty, which is the guy, and well, his real name is Kenneth Petty, so they're using his last name. So she sued Kenneth and Nicki in 2021, alleging intimidation, harassment, and threats related to her rape accusation. Why involve yourself in that if you don't have to? At this point, it's more than obvious that it's a choice that Nicki is making, but being one of the greatest rappers to ever live, male or female, being the queen of the women rap space where it's not even close, nobody comes close. Nicki literally just put up one of her biggest tracks of all time with Super Freaky Girl, and her main competition that I have on the screen failed to even be in the top 10. Is holding on for dear life to be in the top 50 where her track Bongos with Megan Thee Stallion, right? So you look at that and just the difference of 1 and 2, the gap that Nicki has with the competition in the women's space. It's like, why would you not attach yourself to somebody with more prestige, and you disregard that to attach yourself to a man that's convicted of raping someone? Like, it's just very insane the way that Nicki is going about, which some people may be like, if the girl's in love, then so be it, right? I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying right now. Nicki is literally one of the greatest rappers ever. Put that to the side. Has made the most money, and has made the most money as far as women rappers in the industry. Put that to the side. Has had fashion deals, a whole iconic cult-like fan base in the Barbs. Put that to the side. And now you're attached to Lil Wayne and Drake forever as being Young Money, one of the greatest hip-hop trios of all time. And what you do it like who you attach yourself with as far as marriage. Because if she was just dating him, obviously we'll be like, damn, that's messed up, but we wouldn't care as much. They are literally married. She calls herself Miss Petty, and she knew all of this before marrying this guy. So it's like, I just don't understand, right? As a Nicki Minaj fan myself, I don't understand some of the decisions being made, and it's her life, obviously. But as Notorious Mass Effect, and as me being calling myself Analytic Dreamz with this platform, it will be a disservice to the hip hop community to not point out how much hypocrisy and how much detrimental effects can happen just from attaching yourself to a certain partner. So now, every time that this man gets sentenced to house arrest for violating his terms of probation, guess what they're going to put in the news? Nicki Minaj's husband, Kenneth Petty, has been sentenced to house arrest for violating the terms of his probation. It's not Kenneth Petty has been sentenced to house arrest. It's Nicki Minaj's husband has been sentenced to house arrest. Now you're attaching yourself to negative publicity in a way that could have been easily avoided. Now, why was he sentenced to house arrest? Let's get into the drama of the situation. I don't even like covering drama, but because it's Nicki and she's the biggest, then I might as well cover it, right? Nicki Petty, my fault. Kenneth Petty made threatening, well, both of them basically. So Kenneth and Nicki was making threatening remarks towards individual in the company of someone with a criminal record believed to be Offset, right? Cardi B's husband. So that's what the violation happened. So the violation involved Kenneth Petty making threatening remarks towards an individual while in the company of someone with a criminal record. So that being said, the probation officer also recommended placing Kenneth and the location monitoring program to closely monitor his activities and limit his movements. Obviously, I don't think they. Oh yeah, okay. So Kenneth agreed, or no, Petty. I don't know which name to call this man. Kenneth Petty agreed to the modification terms and waived the personal appearance before the court. And now he's been ordered to serve up to 120 days of house arrest. Y'all understand how insane that? But that is insane. 120 days is a lot. 7 days in a week. Y'all do the math. Anyways, in July 22nd, 2022, Kenneth was sentenced to a year of home confinement, 3 years of probation, and a $55,000 fine for failing to register as a sex offender in California. So that's some of the nitty like drama that they'll be like. That's some of the other drama that she attaches herself with for some reason. And or if you want to know, this is not like some recent thing. Like they've been married. They Nicki and Kenneth got married in 2019 and had a son together. What else? So this is like serious, right? You're attaching yourself seriously with somebody like this. That's another thing. I should have prefaced with that, because a lot of people just gonna think, oh, she could leave him at any time, right? She has a kid with him, chose to get married. Like she's really taking it serious with a guy who already had all these convictions and violations, and it's just like she's trying to promote this gangster appeal for no reason. She's already accomplished, which is why I kept listing off the accomplishments that she has. Like she's already accomplished in to keep doing this, or not doing this, to keep promoting this type of lifestyle that you're a gangster for ultimately no benefit doesn't make sense to me. Like, only reason I see her doing this is because Cardi B rose to a height that she didn't ever think that could happen, right? She didn't ever think the runner up in the women field, because don't get it twisted, Nicki by far is still number one. She never thought her runner up competition would get as close as Cardi B has gotten to her. So every time she takes a jab, it's for a reason. It's because she's trying to knock her down a peg or two, right? I mean, she literally just finished clowning Offset by putting up all type of Michael Jackson memes and stuff, because Offset, if you don't know, he went on Kai Cenat, did like a 24-hour stream. He did an interview with Bobby Alhoff. I don't know how to say her name. And he had a whole video basically paying homage to Michael Jackson for like one of his singles. I think it was called Fan, just for it to flop. Didn't chart at all. Like, didn't even chart. Like, top 100 Billboard, Offset, major label. He didn't chart at all after doing all that promotion. So Nicki, hold up, I wonder if I can find it. I think it was on her Twitter. Nicki spent time to clown him, right? Doing all that effort for just to flop, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, hip hop is a contact sport, so there's nothing wrong with pointing that out. So this is not like me bashing Nicki, but I'm just, you know, it just plays off of the fact that her husband was also threatening him. And yeah, look at this, because I don't want y'all to think I'm just saying stuff. Look, Michael Jackson meme, another Michael Jackson meme, Michael Jackson meme for days. Nicki Minaj laughing, Michael Jackson laughing. And then after that, right after she posted that, look what she posted. After all that, shy. And guess what? Guess what the comments are gonna say? Because the Barbs are also they be tag teaming and clowning these people. I wonder if anybody says the name. Nobody's saying the name. I love how they keeping it. Like, it's like an inside joke to them. So I like how her code fan base like actually understands her humor, because they don't want to like act like or give him no promotion, but they want to clown him without giving a promotion, which is why the Barbs is like they actually are one of the better fan bases in music. Can you not look at quote tweets no more? Did they take away quote tweets? Am I tripping? Quote tweets? No. I don't know if you can look at quote tweets no more. Dang, did they take away quote tweets? Anyways, they know who she talking about. Obviously, she's talking about Offset doing all that Michael Jackson stuff for his latest single that didn't chart at all. So yeah, man. At the end of the day, basically, I'll say all that to say, but tell Nicki stop playing gangster. And obviously, she's not playing at this point because she married a gangster, so she done married herself into that lifestyle. So I don't understand. I understand clowning somebody for the sales because, you know, hip hop is a contact sport. That happens sometimes. But the threatening, especially at the VMAs where this happened, Kenneth Petty, you know, threatening Offset and Cardi B back at the hotel after the VMAs and you know, saying we outside or whatever. It's just too much. And there's no place for that. One thing I always say is women rappers know how to beef way or much better than male rappers, because a male rapper will, you know, try to kill you. Women rappers, you know, at the most, you know, they just be like, I see you outside and stuff like that. Like, nothing really happens. So that's why I like it to stay at. And for Nicki to do this, it's like she's trying to get into that realm of, no, something can really happen to you, you know? And I don't like where that's headed. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B? And what do you think about her husband being sentenced to house arrest after saying he was outside? Very ironic and hilarious situation. But as far as the Nicki wanting to be a part of the gangster appeal, what do you think that will ultimately have as an effect on her career? Being a Drake stan, I'm very conflicted on this back and forth, but what makes it easier, it makes it easier when I keep telling myself it's all jokes. Because at the end of the day, Charlamagne is just a flat out comedian. Maybe one of the funniest hip hop commentators we've ever had in life. So with that being said, Drake is the biggest hip hop artist we've ever had in life. And when those two collide, you get into an interesting space where Drake starts to get in his feelings because he's not used to people talking about him the way that Charlamagne has. I mean, if you have somebody that can not only change your life, but can change your kid's life, your kid's life, and your kid's life, you will probably talk to them or talk to him in a certain way that's respectful, right? Some will call that a yes man. I've been fortunate to have friends, associates with a lot of money. Not associates, friends, right? And I could say, and they know personally, I've never been a yes man. honestly, I've said stuff to friends with a lot of money where you probably shouldn't even say that to them, but it came from a place of just, you want to be real with them. So that is the basis of this back and forth. I think Charlamagne says stuff that Drake does not hear in this circle, right? Because obviously you don't want to talk to Drake in a certain way that could get you kicked out, and now your whole life has changed. Charlamagne is that person that doesn't need Drake, is his own man, so he could say what some, if not most people, are thinking. And with that, make sure to follow my Analytic Dreamz video podcast on Spotify to get the video elements along with the audio, so you can watch along and hear. Well, you'll be able to hear regardless, but you can watch along as Charlamagne gives a masterclass at his finest on one of the biggest hip hop musicians in the world.
Out here is gay, straight, and Drake. And Drake is just a whole different type of breed. It don't got nothing to do with nothing other than he's just a different type of breed, man. Drake's used to people laughing at him and talking about him behind his back from high school. So that was the who's laughing at me post.
Now throughout this whole video, that's my favorite video. This is my favorite one right here. Like, this is the most creative one.
Nothing other than he's just a different type of breed. Drake used to people laughing at him and talking about him behind his back from high school. So that was the who's laughing at me post. I hear y'all laughing at me. Y'all supposed to be my friends. I think Drake can rap. You know what I'm saying? I think he can rap. He's a dope rapper. But I hate when he sings. And I just think personally he's a corny guy.
If you've read Charlamagne's book titled Black Privilege, and not to be preachy, but reading is fundamental. And one of the things I realized about reading is they will put certain information that you could only get from that book. So when you say it, they realize that you read the book. So basically, the way that plays here is with Charlamagne the God, right? Even his whole name was, broken down into the book in a way that I don't think he's ever explained in person. But we're not going to focus on that. We're focusing on the bully, the guy who was bullied, the guy who is a bully, and how he came to be that person. Because those are two different personas, right? When he first started off in Black Privilege, he was a quote unquote nerd. He was I don't know if he was the corny guy. He never said that in the book, but he was the nerd, went to class, got good grades, studied, all that stuff, right? Apparently, he was watching, and this was the turning point. He was watching some type of TV show with his with his cousins. And something happened on the TV show. Then he took it upon himself to reenact whatever happened in that scene. And it was back in the day, y'all, so don't cancel me. It was like feminine qualities or whatever what he was reenacting. So his cousins told his dad, and his dad was like, from now on, you hanging with these cousins and instead of the girls, right? Basically, he wanted him to hang with more guys instead of the girls. And so it came to a point where he started to pick up things from his guy cousins, which got him into the drug game, got him into it being a gangster, ended up being a bully. I mean, one of the points in this book was they would pick somebody in the school to knock out. Like, literally, like people in his clique at the end of class or whatever, they would pick somebody just to knock them out. And I'm being so serious. It was in this book. You got to read it. Such a great read. Throughout the book, right? He went to a bunch of different schools because of him getting locked up for drugs and basically, selling weed, being in the wrong group, fighting, all that sorts of stuff. So he was always the guy to antagonize people. That's what I'm getting at. So the guy you're seeing is a much more reformed Charlamagne. Well, I hope so. Hopefully he's not still doing what he was doing in the beginning of this book. But basically, this is a antagonizer. You can't take him serious. He's doing things to only make you upset. And that, if you read Charlamagne's book, has always been his character. And it didn't used to be, but thanks to his dad not wanting him to grow up as a kid who, you know, was a straight and narrow, because apparently it was making him do weird feminine things, get into the drug game, be a gangster and stuff. So he transitioned to a much more different persona that we're seeing a reformed version of today. But that's where it came from, right? So that's the premise. I know that was a huge breakdown, but that is where I'm seeing this man come from, because I read his book, so I have that background knowledge of him having all of them personal instances of just being a straight bully to people. I mean, knocking people out is pretty, you know, that's pretty messed up. Like, if that's not a bully, if that's not the literal definition of what you think of when you think of a bully, I don't know what is. So anyways, let's keep going. So basically now he's just bullying Drake, but in his hip-hop personality way.
Get in the car the next morning, turn on like Power 105 and hear some nerd telling them that I'm gay, or they have pictures of me, or that.
This video did Drake no justice. I'm not gonna lie to you. The mannerisms, the way he's saying it, everything he's saying about Charlamagne just seems like it just screams he was right.
And hear some nerd telling them that I'm gay, or they have pictures of me, or that to me is like, why, man? Like, for what? You know, why are you using your job to tear me down? Like, you're a real fucking loser, you know? Sorry. And I don't bother anybody. I'm not a foul artist, you know. I'm not.
Like, you could tell Drake is upset by like what Charlamagne just said. So this is like after he's seen all that, right?
Oh, that's it, man.
No new friends, no new friends, no new friends, no. Who talks like that?
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, Drake, I mean, Charlamagne is obviously an antagonizer, and the way that Drake tried to combat it to bring this full circle and back on, well, we was on topic, but to bring this more specifically back to what I was wanting to touch on, Drake said, quote, "Are you okay, Leonard?" Which, if you don't know, Charlamagne's real name is Leonard. "You kind of weirding me out, G." Like, hold on, let me make this bigger for the people so you can see this. I don't know how big I can make this. What in the world? I don't know. That's how big it's gonna get. I'm sorry, I can't make it any bigger. "Are you okay, Leonard?" 2 question marks. That's how you know somebody wants an answer. "You kinda weirding me out, G. Like you really obsessed with me or something for years. Like you look in the mirror and wish you saw my reflection. Type beat." Obviously it says type something else, but it's a PG podcast. "Whatever you gotta do to let it out, I'm sure your 435 loyal fans will stand by you, Goofy." That's how I'm gonna end it, because he went off. He dropped the F-bomb. That's how you know Drake. Like, Charlamagne invokes a type of reaction from Drake that makes him just drop F-bombs left and right. Like, this man don't even talk like this to no personality, right? And 435 loyal fans has to be a dig at something. Like, I can't put my finger on it, but that number is just too specific. Like, I don't know if Charlamagne always does around 400 when he does live venues and he's supposed to sell them out by thousands. Like, I don't know like what type of dig that is, but that's too specific of a number for Drake just to throw out there. And that's my personal opinion. I don't know, I don't have any facts for that, but I'm thinking that his loyal fans has to be a jab at him not being able to sell out certain live venues. Not like, you know, not stadiums or arenas and nothing like that. Just like, you know, personalities, they host live events, and you know, sometimes in the thousands, and maybe you have a 5,000 capacity venue and you can only get around 400 people. Like, maybe that's what the jab is at, because I'm like, Drake just don't throw out jabs. Like, the reason, the point where I realized Drake just don't throw out random jabs is when his homies all had on Chris Paul jerseys amidst the Kanye beef. Nobody thought anything of it, just thought it was a random post, right? Fast forward, when they supposedly stopped beefing, Kanye said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I found this man with his wife," with a picture of Chris Paul. That man Drake is a devious human. Like, he is ill. He is sick. petty. Everything you can, hey, it's a lot. So, anyways, what else? Then he tried to get on Charlamagne's level with the jokes, which I don't think Drake's as funny as Charlamagne. I think he is one of the more funnier rappers, but that's not saying too much because most rappers' personality is like watching paint dry. So Drake was saying in deep thought about how you the off-brand Morris Chestnut, which is not even is that a slight? Like pause, but the Morris Chestnut's not like a bad looking person. And if you're the off-brand him, it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm tripping. What else? That's basically it, man. It was all jokes. This is all funny because I think at the end of the day, it's just all for jokes. Like it's just all for fun and promotion. Drake knows that his reach is way more than Charlamagne, so exemplifying and highlighting this is just gonna put more eyes on Charlamagne. So I don't know why he would do it if he really cared. That's why I don't think he cares. I think they're just joking back and forth. I think Drake is sort of not joking. Like he's like, I'm sort of serious, but I'm not gonna take it all the way there. And Charlamagne's just straight jokes. Like he's just straight bully mode. And obviously it's not back in the day when they used to knock people back in this high school, but you know, it's to that effect with the words. So what he used to do physically to people as far as starting fights and knocking people out, he's doing verbally against some of the biggest artists in the game. And with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Charlamagne versus Drake, aka Aubrey Graham? Aubrey versus Leonard. These are the times we're in. This is what happens when nobody drops music in 2023. But anyways, let me know what you think about their beef and who do you think got the upper hand and their verbal spat. Getting into the overview of the pod, of course, we started with Doja Cat because, as you know, the episode is titled Sales Over Integrity. Is it worth it? And the reason I titled that specifically because of Doja Cat's first week sales. So I got into how her sales was definitely a disappointment and one of the biggest disappointments, I think, in the music industry, because to have somebody have the #1 single in the world, to drop an album following that single and for it to flop, quote unquote, and only selling 69,000 first week is under a major label is pretty disappointing. And that's one of the biggest surprises of 2023. Then we got to BTS members renewing their contracts with Big Hit Music. Basically, every single member of BTS has had a track charting in the top 100 for Billboard. So at that point, it's like Big Hit knew that they, pun intended, had a hit on their hands with multiple BTS members. So they was like, let's renew this group membership so we can get all y'all to come back together after you finish doing mandatory military service. And once again, I believe it's Sugar, Jim, and J-Hope that's set to complete the mandatory military service. So yeah. Then we transition into the music industry, basically talking about how Taylor Swift is just out here impacting the economy on a global scale to the point where music industry has hit an all-time revenue high. And that is insane. After that, we got into WGA Studios reaching a tentative agreement with WGA, basically ending their strike with the studios, but the writers for the video game department are contemplating going on strike to mimic the same process as WGA so they can ultimately get more financial gains for their work, which I am in all support of, especially since Spider-Man 2 is already completed. But anyways, then we got into PlayStation Plus versus Xbox Game Pass. I basically talked about CEO beef versus industries versus companies and how it's way more entertaining than rapper beef. Like CEO beef is way more intricate and more detailed than rappers beefing because they are talking about some big numbers and a lot of different people are working under them versus a rapper who basically is vice versa. So I like covering that CEO beef, and I thought that was pretty interesting when I first found it. So hopefully you enjoyed that segment. Then we got to Sony going to invest more into first party studios and less on third party. And it's just one of those things where Sony is just realizing that their model is by far and away leading to success in this console war. And somehow Xbox is going to have to fight back. And I think with them acquiring Activision, they finally started to officially regain status in the console war. Then we got into our first segment about just entirely a video game and Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC. Basically, Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those type of games where it was completely broken 3 years ago. I know some people, like 10% of the population, was able to play the game at start and get through it with no problems. But for most people, the game was a buggy mess. So much so that PlayStation took it off the digital marketplace. And y'all look up the last time that happened. Right, it didn't. So Cyberpunk 2077 was a atrocious launch and one of the worst launches in video game history. But now is at a point where it's one of the better games in video game history, simply because the developers took the time to fix their game 3 years later, but they still did it. Fix their game, add DLC, and now it's basically the package that everybody thought they was getting at the beginning, and everybody is satisfied now. Then we move along into Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. If you don't know, From Software is the developers that made Elden Ring. They also made Armor Core that came out this year. Basically, I talked about how Armor Core is not the game that you promote Elden Ring along with, because then the promotion takes away from Armor Core. So Elden Ring kind of had to sit on the back burner for Armor Core to get that spotlight and to have that highlight as far as the industry, right? So it makes sense that now Elden Ring DLC is starting to, rumors are starting to come about, because it's allegedly going to have a trailer December of this year at the Game Awards show. So basically, Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, make sure to look out for that. Then we got into Peso Pluma versus the Cartel. And when I tell y'all, I think I broke the record for the amount of please cop in one segment. I kid you not, because I don't know what it is, but the research and the information that I've garnered from how the Cartel moves is not something where I want to play with. I don't want them to listen to even a minute of this segment and think I'm playing with their name, because let me tell you, that is surely not the case. I am being the utmost respectful, and that's why I'm gonna leave it at. So anyways, Nicki versus Cardi B was a fun topic. I like to end off on some fun topics. So we talked about Nicki versus Cardi B, and the fun part was Nicki, or Kenneth Petty, basically making a whole video with his goons saying they was outside just to be sentenced to house arrest for like 130 some days, or 120 some days. So that was hilarious. But what wasn't hilarious is how Nicki, for some reason, attached herself to somebody who's done unthinkable things, and if I said it, I would have to give a trigger warning. So her husband is just one of those type of people where her being so decorated as far as success wise and still choosing to marry and give a kid to this person is very disturbing and unfortunate, but people are willing to do with their life what they want. And I just wanted to point out how, disappointing it is as a Nicki fan for her to not choose somebody who's more of a just like a law-abiding citizen. Like, is that too much to ask for, to choose somebody that don't have the convictions of certain stuff that he's convicted of? I don't know. Maybe that's too much to ask. But anyways, simply, we got into Nicki versus Cardi and other things. So anyways, also Nicki versus Offset. Then we ended with Aubrey Graham versus Leonard, aka Drake versus Charlamagne. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was straight jokes, as I think there comes a point in time where you look at somebody and you just realize you get under their skin way easier and much more effective than they get under yours. And that's just how Drake and Charlamagne's relationship just has been over the time. Like, Charlamagne has always said stuff to get under Drake's skin. Drake has always said stuff back to Charlamagne that's just been out of character, that made him look a certain way to make Charlamagne even more right. So At that point, I think we can ultimately come to the conclusion that Charlamagne just has Drake's number when it comes to getting under his skin. Which is nothing wrong with that, because as a Drake stan, I would still point out that Charlamagne said Drake and SZA's record didn't seem like it was impacting that much, and it is currently the #1 track in the world. That's right, my GOAT is still on top. Pause. So anyways, that's about it for this episode, or that's about it for episode 129. Thank you for tuning in to this Notorious Mass Effect podcast, and don't be afraid to send me an email letting me know what you think of the show and what you want me to talk about in the next episode. Click my link tree in my bio to access my social medias and to keep up with my latest activities. If you want to support the show financially, click my Cash App link located towards the bottom of my link tree, as it helps the show overall. Make sure to share this podcast and rate this 5 stars on whatever platform you are currently listening on, as this helps the show reach more people so we can grow together and affect the masses. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Notorious Mass Effect.